I want to discuss the process of moving from spiritual illiteracy to spiritual literacy, right? And what I mean by that is that transition from being impatient with yourself and others and the universe to be impatient with yourself. Discernment, right? Growing from being a hearer. This is one I really want to talk about. Being a hearer to a listener. I think too many people hear, but they don't listen, especially in regards to listening to the spirit, faith, and trust. Those are the things what I mean in regards to being spiritually literate.
Well, it starts on this level. We cannot allow our self-image or any other perception to be shaped by non-scriptural concepts. That means that whatever God said about you, it is true and you should accept it for yourself. If he said you are in the image and we are in the image and the likeness of God, that means that everything that's true about God is true about us. If we're in the image and the likeness of God, we're not a duplicate of God, we are a replica of God. Duplicate can look like, but a replica doesn't just look like, it has the power and the function of. If we are in the image and the likeness of God, that means that every time God looks at us, he sees himself. Problem is, when we look at ourselves, we don't see God, but we should. When you accept that as your self-image, and then you don't allow any other perceptions to be shaped by non-scriptural concepts, then you are practicing, or you are one that has spiritual literacy. Do you know that there's a man named two men, one was named George and Jim, but I'm trying to remember the last name of these gentlemen, but they did a study in the early 2000s on something called biblical literacy. And this is their finding, that the Bible is the #1 selling book in America every year. There's no book in America that is more prominent than the Bible, and there's no book in America that's given away more every year than the Bible. But in spite of the Bible being so many places and #1 seller, #1 book in population in America, they found that people revere the Bible, but they do not read it. So look at this. They start interviewing people, and as they were interviewing Christians, they found that 50% of the Christians they interviewed could not name the 4 Gospels. 60% of those they interviewed could not name more than 2 disciples. 12% of those they interviewed could not, they literally thought that Joan of Arc was Noah's wife. 40-some% of them thought that Sodom and Gomorrah were husband and wife of one another. And it's a whole lot more that they found. So what they came to the conclusion is that people revere the Bible, but they don't read it. I guarantee you that if we were to go and do this same kind of study that they did for the Christians in the Bible, we'll find that same scriptural or spiritual illiteracy existing among people of different faiths. People might revere their books, but the question is, are you reading the book? And in literacy, reading is only half of the equation for literacy. So reading is the ability to sound out letters and say the word, but the other side of literacy is called reading comprehension, meaning do I understand what I'm reading? And you don't know whether you understand something unless a person can prove that they know how to practically apply what they say they know. So spiritual illiteracy is, I'm going to step out there and say there's more spiritual illiteracy than there is literacy that exists. So a person is going to be impatient with themselves. They're going to be easily made to operate with poor self-worth, low self-esteem. It's going to be easy for them to see another female as a man, as a it instead of a she, or another male as a it instead of a he. It's going to be easy for us to operate without integrity and trust of others because we don't even trust ourselves. Why? We have allowed our self-image and other perceptions to be shaped by non-scriptural concepts.